Typically, a son might borrow his father's nice shoes for a party, his car for a date, or his jacket for graduation. But for a father to take something from his son, especially his wife, is quite unprecedented. Ever since I was young, I had been told that I would be an enviable husband. I was always a composed and responsible child, never a rebellious teenager. Traveling and experiencing new cultures had not changed me in any significant way. I diligently worked part-time and brought home all the money. While we may not have lived a luxurious life, we had enough for the essentials. I never had the desire for alcohol, so parties and similar events never interested me. Growing up without a father, I had always understood the sanctity of family. If you choose someone as your spouse, it is essential to love, cherish, and respect them. Seeing my mother juggle work and home while raising me, I aspired to provide Nastya with a comfortable and serene family life. However, when I turned 18, my father decided that his wife had become too domesticated. He wanted her to focus on her appearance, exercise, and wear heels. Unfortunately, no one seemed to appreciate the fact that she was taking care of a baby, managing the household, and tending to her vegetable garden. Due to my upbringing, I developed a more sensible perspective on relationships and raising children. Nastya and I had already discussed our future together, but we had not made any concrete decisions. We had been married for only 3 years, and we had so many aspirations to travel and explore together. My father, on the other hand, lived his life as he pleased, occasionally meeting women who had only recently reached the age of consent. One day, he went too far. Personally, I never felt the need for a father figure in my life. In fact, I would have likely accepted any other man in his place. However, my mother did not have such luxury, and the man whose middle name I bear did not have any time for me. He couldn't even be bothered to attend my wedding ceremony, despite me letting go of all past grievances and inviting him. It was during a walk with my wife, Nastya, that we unexpectedly encountered my father. He pretended to be happy to see me and introduced himself to her as Andrei Anatolievich. He added, "I apologize for not showing up at your wedding. I was busy enjoying my holiday with a lovely lady. Her husband was away on a business trip that week." I couldn't bear to listen to his self-centered monologue any longer. I interjected, "Enough. Maybe it's time to stop." My father's dismissive expression disappeared, and he tried to converse in a more civilized manner. He inquired about our life, our plans, and our challenges. Eventually, he gave me his phone number and business card. "My business is thriving, and I have influential connections. Feel free to reach out if you ever need anything," he said before parting ways. I took the card out of decency, not intending to use it or keep it. But my wife was shocked to find it in the ashtray and asked why I was throwing it away. I replied, "You don't deserve my attention, Daddy. I heard our wedding was traded for a date with a married woman." My wife responded, "Well, you have his blood running through your veins and more. Have you seen his expensive suit? It's worth more than all of yours combined. If anything happens to us, we can rely on him. He won't miss an opportunity to catch up." I sighed and said, "Let's hope we don't need that," as I put the business card in the desk drawer. My wife then commented on my father's appearance, asking how old he was and praising his fitness. I replied, "No, he's not miserable his whole life. When challenges arise, he doesn't think twice about letting people down, abandoning his partners, and avoiding stress. He's not cut out for a normal life. He's used to relaxation and avoiding responsibility." We continued our conversation and eventually forgot about it, but I noticed that my wife became fixated on the idea of living a luxurious life like my father's. She even lamented why I didn't grow up to be like him. How do I explain that success often goes hand in hand with dishonesty and using others? This led to arguments. Nastya dreamt of a lavish life and demanded that I give not just 100, but 200%. In the end, my beloved decided to open a part-time job, a shoe store, in her cousin's small sales room. Nastya rented the space and displayed a collection of moderately priced shoes. She needed to establish a sole proprietorship, so she turned to her father-in-law for help with the tax authorities. This required multiple meetings, one to brief him, another to submit the necessary documents, and a final one to resolve all the issues, or so I thought. In reality, he had other intentions. As you may have already guessed, my father never beat around the bush. So when we met again, he asked from the doorway, "Have you divorced Nastya yet?" I was taken aback and answered no. He casually replied, "Oh well, your wife made it seem like you were getting a divorce. I thought it was happening. She came over to discuss her store. We had coffee, and she remarked how great I am and how amazing my life is. You, on the other hand, seem to be done for. You'll be divorced soon. Why should I miss out on that? Well, if you're so great." I wasn't entirely surprised, but my dad's words still shocked me. He has no empathy or consideration for others and lacks any social skills. When Nastya returned home, I confronted her, informing her that I was already aware of everything. She was taken aback but fought back, claiming, "You do nothing for me. Are you ever going to make a decent income, or will we forever struggle to get by with meager paychecks? You are stagnant and showing no signs of personal growth. How can we even think of having children if we can't provide them with the best?" "What children are you talking about? You betrayed me with another man, and not just any man, but my own father," I responded with indignation. "What kind of father do you think you are to me? You bear no resemblance to him. He is successful, charming, and affable. He effortlessly brings joy and excitement into my life. The way he speaks to me, the compliments he showers me with, and how he pursued me, it's all in stark contrast to you. He even mentioned that he liked me a lot and that we could have a future together, unlike with you, my wife told me, clearly attempting to hurt me." "And why did you say we were getting a divorce?" I inquired. "I was furious with you then because you are broke and feeble, not like Andrei," Nastya retorted. "So he's just Andrei now," I remarked. "He is not just Andrei. He is the Andrei who has captured my heart, something you have never done," Nastya replied defiantly. "If that's the case, why did you come back to me after being with such a perfect man?" I asked, bewildered. "That's what I've been pondering. Why did I? Maybe because he himself told me to stay, promising me much more than his failed copy," Nastya admitted. At that moment, I lost control and slapped her across the face. Even now, recalling this conversation, I realized that I would have done it again. Nastya jumped to her feet, cursed at me, and hastily began dressing. As she stood in the hallway, she shouted that she would return in a few days to collect her belongings, and maybe Andrei would buy her everything new and beautiful. Of course, she couldn't resist getting in one final jab before leaving. Left alone in the apartment, I began reflecting on what had transpired. The woman who had promised to love and support me had betrayed our vows by sleeping with my father, simply because he possessed more material wealth. Maybe in 20 years, I too would be dressed in extravagant suits, running my own successful business. But all of that was in due time. Nastya didn't grant me that time, and naturally, I would not give her a second chance. An hour later, my father called. "Listen, you need to take your grandmother away. Why the hell did she come here? She claims you two had a fight. What do I care about your personal life? Did she expect me to console her? Well, sorry to disappoint her, but I find solace in the company of a very important woman in this city. And if that chicken finds out, it could ruin everything. Doesn't she understand the nature of fleeting relationships and how things are handled in such cases?" I hung up the phone, no longer willing to listen. I didn't know if I felt satisfied knowing that my unfaithful wife had been kicked out of the place where she sought a luxurious and prosperous life. But I had forewarned her that she was taking on someone who had no real substance. She fell for the illusion. Let her live her life as she sees fit. I no longer want any part of her. And judging by the phone call, my father is involved in this mess as well.